Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. Well, that really came out bad. Anyway, let's start that over. My name is R. Keith Andrews. The journey continues today on April 30th, 2023 at approximately 7:08 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the ones I personally live by, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones that I personally am living by. I have scrambled this completely. It's a good thing it's a test run. How you doing, Christine? Yo, I just bought a new system and spent an hour on the phone with the computer tech that installed the system. Because as we know, I dumped the whole thing. I had to dump the line yesterday, earlier today, because it wasn't working right. You know, and just to make matters worse, my throat seized. But get this, the guy installed the system. I was on the phone with him for an hour. He couldn't get it sorted out. I was on the phone with my other half, who also happens to be my executive assistant. Okay, and what ended up happening is in under 5 minutes she had the problem solved. Now, it does beg the question of why I bothered hiring a computer tech. You know, but I figured I'd come back on just to make sure it was working. You know, the really hilarious part of it in a lot of ways. Hey Nathan, how you doing? And we will start this off the proper way here, sort of. Christine is in with the gold, and Nathan, you have come in with the silver. I haven't got to the emails yet. The unfortunate part is, did my throat seize? Yes, but my other half, just to make things, finally made to, just to make things more entertaining. My other half, on top of apparently being a mind-boggling editor, okay, she also turns out to be one heck of a crack tech, you know. And now we have the added bonus. She's blinder than a bat in a beanery shop. You know, I mean, talk about a gold triangle, if you will. So she got all of the sound system all working properly. And she did it by just going, here's what you need to do. Make this move, go to this button, hit that one, and away it went. It was simple. The problem is Tech and I don't get along. You know, and I will absolutely take a look at the email there, Nathan. As a matter of fact, why don't I go and take a peek at that and see what it popped up? Take that, move it over onto my third monitor here. The silly part is everybody talks to me about a docking station being really useful. Well, I've disconnected the docking station almost entirely. I don't know. I think there's something still plugged into it, and I don't know what yet. What is that cable? That's the power to the computer. So what is the docking station? May still be plugged in and just not attached to anything. Let's see here. Where are we here? Well, yeah, we don't need to worry about that. Going into email here, Nathan, just because, there we are. The good news is I've got ginger. I don't think I've got chamomile. Yeah, my throat does that periodically. Usually it seems to do that when I end up with stress. Big J, how you doing? It's been a bad technological day, but I'm going to see what happens from here. I don't know how long I'll be on tonight because, well, let's face it, it's from my end, it's starting to get late again. It's only 7:30. It's 7:13, but I've also been up since I think 4 o'clock. Oh, oh, that's cute. No, heavens not. You know, in all fairness, Nathan, strep throat, no. Never had it, have no interest in having it. Okay, some people thought maybe I had COVID at some point, but I didn't actually go to the doctor to find out because Lord knows if I'd have gone to them, they'd have said I did. The only thing I have is high stress and really bad luck with technology. Now, let's just make sure one little detail here. Perfect. Yep, that confirms that the whole sound system from my end is working properly. Henry, how you doing? Yes, I'm alive. Mind you, that's not entirely a odd question. The number of times I've died, it could be just that. Now, let's get this out of the way. Where was I? This morning, yeah, I'm working on 4.5 hours of sleep today because, well, rough day. But this little computer should be up and running. What I was getting at, what I was trying to get at earlier, was I've got 4 computers in this house. For somebody that has troubles with technology, you'd think I'd quit trying to get computers to work. I have no idea how to do that there, Nathan. Like, I've got no idea. I mean, I know what resolution is, but that's where it ends. Yeah, I have no like you're almost talking Swahili here, except I understand a little. Well, no, I understand a little bit of Hausa, but yeah, I have no idea what that is. But what the resolution is, or the refresh rate, or any of that, I've got no clue where to find any of it. I do know the docking station I bought has proven to be, well, politely put, absolutely useless. What is it plugged into? Or is it plugged into anything? That's that one. Oh, that's right. It doesn't plug into anything. Which means everything on the computer is currently, well, that plug. Yeah, that's that one there. So where does that one go? That one go. Okay, perfect. So I know where I am. You're looking at my bottom, at the bottom here. There we go. Now we can see what we're doing. Okay. That being said, yeah, the docking station that I bought is absolutely useless. How you doing there, Ken? Glad that you could join us. I was not planning on being on here at this point. Of course, in all fairness, I really wasn't planning on a lot of things happening today. But I figured I'd come back in and just, since I had the opportunity to do so, I'd come back in and see what's going on. Not in the slightest, Henry. You got to remember, trees come in with the idea, doing things to nature that are, if you will, a part of evolution is not a big problem. Okay. So when you're looking at hunting, you know, if you were, where you would potentially incur karmic debt is if you were taking, for instance, an animal and not killing it, but torturing it to death. Okay. Or taking a live tree and stripping the bark off it. Okay. With with absolutely no interest in anything else except I want the bark, so I'm going to peel it off the tree. Okay. This is a good way to get yourself into trouble. Because, or, doing that, or intentionally, after you know better, intentionally breaking the limbs off of trees. Okay, think of it this way. If you're looking at a tree, at a plant, and you're breaking the limbs off it, it's akin to breaking somebody's arm. If you're peeling the bark off it, it's akin to cutting somebody's flesh off. Okay, so I mean that ultimately is where you're looking at things. So karmic debt is not something that automatically you kill something, you're in trouble. It literally boils down to how. Okay, the how and the why. You know, if you look at it that way, you'll find it a lot easier to work with. Let me ask you this. Before you start jumping on that, the thing you have to ask there, Henry, is if you chopped off a whole bunch of limbs today, were you doing it because you were just wanting to cut the limbs off? Or were they growing in a way that was going to cause an additional problem? Okay, that's the first thing you have to ask. Again, it's the why you're doing things. If all you did was walk through the forest and cut trees on tree limbs off, then yeah, you're doing something wrong. If, on the other hand, you're cutting them because they're overcrowding each other, aka you're pruning, okay, if you're pruning them, this is a question of making certain that they don't create an extra problem. Okay. The other thing is it's kind of like cutting somebody's hair. Okay, if you're trimming it with the intention of leaving them with enough room to grow or to be healthier, then it's preventative medicine. Okay. It's when if you're walking through the forest and you're just going, oh, let's grab that branch and break it off. Okay. Or let's walk through the forest and we're just going to, cut the tree down and walk away. There's no reason for it. You just don't want it there. Okay. This is a problem that you have to look at. Okay. That ultimately is the biggest complication you have. Okay. So you don't have a big problem. Now, of course, most of us, myself included, when I was a child, I wonder if I've got it here. Just a curiosity thought. There it is. This funny little tool here. Okay. That's a magnifying lens. And this one has an interesting background to it. But most kids, what they do at some point, myself included, is we take a magnifying lens and you would literally we'd find a string of ants and you'd literally take a magnifying lens in broad daylight, okay, with the high sun, and you'd use it like a laser beam. Now, like I said, I'm not everything I do is not necessarily on the right side of things. You know, but you learn as you grow. Now, in this case, I said this has an interesting story behind it. Okay. Now, this particular magnifying lens, when my Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've had to move it. This got moved into my bedroom because my eldest son is moving home. And well, frankly, we needed the room. But this neat little magnifying lens, when my father was in his very late childhood or very early teens, went out into the woods, found an old cabin. Okay, he and two friends of his went out. They came across this old cabin in the woods up in northern Alberta, and they're looking around. Dad spotted something shiny in the wood. Okay, in between the logs. So he digs this thing out of the wood, out of the logs. Right. Takes it home. And, he takes it home and he had it there for about a year and then the thing goes missing. Well, Dad turned around, Dad and his friends, it went missing and they didn't know where it went. The next year, Dad and one of the original two friends went back up into the woods, back to the same cabin, and found this little gem stuck in between in between the logs again. Okay, how it got there, Dad had no clue. So, of course, Dad had it for all his life. I used it when I was a young child. And then, I moved out at 18. And somewhere along the line, this particular magnifying lens, it was Dad, so it stayed with him and it had been in his room forever. Okay. So it went AWOL. And Dad was over at my place. I'd have been in my mid-40s. And Dad was at my place. And he spotted this thing sitting on my counter. And he goes, "Where did you get that?" I said, "I have no idea. It showed up one day about 5 years ago." Right. And Dad goes, "That was about the same time it went missing from our house. But," he says, "apparently it's supposed to be with you. So here it is." You know. So it stayed with me. Lord knows how I got it, because I didn't pick it up and bring it. Right. It just finds its own place. I have no idea where it's going to end up next. Oh, I gotta find out where that. What do we got? You can put the on-air sign. Okay, give me half a sec to go find that, because I don't know. No, it's in the other room. Give me half a sec. I'll be right back. Well, I'm right back, but apparently the sign is not where it belongs. Shock of shocks. Shouldn't be there. Okay. And it is apparently gone. Oh, there it is. Okay. I do have it. I just didn't realize I moved it in here already. So we have this. Now, I do believe, what did we do? Okay. Oh, yeah, sign on that bookshelf above your left shoulder. Oh, this one. That doesn't belong up there anyway. You're talking about right about there, presumably. Oh, why don't we see if that works? Because I don't think that'll work, but I'm going to turn it on and see. Okay. Oh, not a problem there at all, Henry. The neat little part about it there, Ken, is I don't know if I want to call it magic or if it's connected in some way. What I do know is that magnifying lens has the exact same energy pattern as this crystal ball. Okay. But if you take a look at the magnifying lens, right, it's just about the same size, which really begs the question of how exactly they both ended up with me. Because this one I already explained. This one, when I was, what would it be, 86 was the first time I went to a fair, so it would have been about 1987, 88. Okay. I ran into a gentleman that told me I went to a psychic fair, and I went to a gentleman. No, it was the same year. Okay, so it would have been 1986. Went to a psychic fair, and a gentleman. Everybody else had really gaudy displays out, the whole 9 yards, and great signs and what have you. Okay, this one guy, massive black man. And if somebody wants to complain about me being prejudiced or something because I'm calling the guy black, you tell me what color he was. I call it black, so he was. Was he big? You bet. Okay, but he had a plain green neon sign that said Leon. And and that was all he had. And this was sitting on his table. And he goes, and all it said was crystal ball reading, $50. Now, this is back in 1986. That's a pretty fair chunk of money. Okay. But he called me over, he looks at me and he goes, you're going to read with one of those. Right? I looked at him and he goes, it's going to pull you off the street. And you're going to become very possessive of it, but you're going to read with it. Right? I looked at him and I went, yeah, like a rock is going to pull me off the street and I'm suddenly going to become materialistic. This is just not going to happen, but thanks so much for your time. Yeah, I appreciate it. So I went my merry way. I kid you not, within about 4 months, he turned around. Okay. I was walking through a mall. Now, I wasn't on the street. I was in an indoor mall. And I stopped and walked into a shop, and I had no idea what I was doing there. Because, frankly, it was a European import shop. And, this thing was sitting there on the counter. I walked in, the woman looks at me, and she goes, well, can I help you? I says, I don't think so. I said, I really have no interest in being in here. And then I stopped, I looked at her, I went, but that crystal is mine. And she goes, oh, great, I'll go and wrap it up for you. I said, no, don't bother. I don't have the money for it. I'm just telling you it's mine. Well, for the next 2 or 3 months, now understand, back in 1986, this thing was listed at $500. Okay. And if you'll notice, it's kind of on the clear side. So I said, I don't have the money for it. It is mine, but it's going to be a while. Right. So the next 2 or 3 months, well, 4 months in total, I was in there a number of times, and she'd come in and ask, so you're here to take the crystal home? I went, no. I said, I don't have the money yet. I was in the middle of putting the money aside. Finally, after 4 months, I walked in and went, I came to take my crystal home. And she looks me dead in the eye and she goes, well, thank heavens for that. She says, I've been selling 2 to 3 crystal balls a week. She goes, but I couldn't talk anybody into buying this one. I said, well, of course not. It was mine, but what's the problem? She says, nobody would buy it. Right. So I took it home. I bought it. I took it home. The first person to lay the hand on it, I almost broke the hand of because they didn't ask first. Now, I had never reacted to the material world in any fashion about that sort of thing. So, Shane, he turned around. I ended up becoming possessive. Well, it got so strong that 2 years later, Leon came back into town in 1987. He comes back into town. I tracked him down and thanked him for the information. Because I'll tell you, this thing has been with me ever since. This is the same crystal ball that I used to help somebody sink a artesian well in the middle of an open field. It's the same one I walked somebody through their house with when they had a tree fall on it, and I walked them through the house to point out all the structural damage. It's the same crystal that I used to quite literally find somebody's missing passport and to pull a young lass out of a wheelchair. So, does this thing work? Yeah. In all my years of working with this, though, I only have run into maybe, I think the last count was 9 people that could use this crystal and actually read with an actual crystal ball. Now, does that mean it's magic? I don't know. Does it mean it's mine? I definitely agree with you there, Nathan. It absolutely does. My voice, thank you so much. Yeah, my voice came back. Do not ask me how that works. Okay. But this little thing, this is also the crystal that I've worked with for years to take a look at what's going on. So much better than news. Okay, for me. Now, yeah, in answer to your question, and this is a question you may not be thinking of asking, you're more than welcome there, Nylock. I do hope things are working out well for you. This crystal, I can pull more information out of this, not necessarily names. Of course, names and we get along. But I can pull more information out of this about global events than I ever get out of the news, which really is setting the bar low when you think about it. So am I going to hang on to it for a while? Yeah, pretty much. So we'll just put it back over here where it belongs. Oh, by the way, no, I do not use this anymore to actually burn ants. Way too tedious. But this is the magnifying lens that I use to do this kind of work. Oh, that's in the other room. I will have to deal with that. But we're in the middle of still moving the room. Here's another little toy. I collect some of the really weird things, it turns out. We're going to have to be a little bit more specific than that, Nylock. When and what are we looking for? I know it's a pet, but what are we looking for? And where was it last? Where and when was it last seen? The fact of the matter is, without the extra information, I'm going to run into a bit of a hiccup. Where are we here? Oh, okay. We are talking about that kind, and this is why I asked. See, unfortunately, the reality is this. When I'm not dealing with somebody face to face, knowing whether they passed away or not is a little bit of a hiccup on occasion. Now, that being said, the answer to your question is in all likelihood, yes. Okay. Will you see him in this world? No. The odds of that, I would not hold my breath on. Okay, because what usually happens is even when they reincarnate, they usually reincarnate way away from people they knew. That is sort of a failsafe that virtually all of them deal with. Okay, but here's the thing, Nylock. That pup, when you pass away, you can bet your bottom dollar that unless she's decided that she is reincarnating already, okay, she'll end up meeting you at the way station, at what you guys would call purgatory. Okay. This is literally where people, it's not a question of, oh, the dog died, so it never goes to where you were. Okay. Absolutely not, although I like the term. It was a great show. No. Dogs, cats, animals, people, it doesn't matter. You automatically go to what you would call purgatory. Whether you go to hell or you go to heaven or you end up in a pine box or under a piece of dirt, okay, that is the individual's choice and the individual's perception. Okay, now do understand, dogs do not see heaven the way people think that heaven looks. Dogs see heaven the way that dogs see heaven. Okay, which is a very different thing than what most humans do. And yes, I forgot that other one that a lot of people see, especially many people in the older religions. They look at it and go, and they see themselves, they're running through this vast expanse of heath. Okay. Dogs quite often end up running through a field because it is a sense of freedom to them. Okay. But do they all go to heaven? No. They also do not all end up barbecued downstairs. Although it is entertaining to consider the options. But, hopefully that makes sense, Nylock, regarding your pup. The thing is, most people, what I keep finding from people, is that when you pan, people go, oh, when you die, people go in one place. There are people that will go, if you're of this religion, you'll go to this one location. Okay. Or if you're of this skin color, you'll end up in another one. The world doesn't the world beyond this one doesn't work that way. It is not relegated by physical form or by skin color. Well, physical form in any color, okay, in any configuration. It's not relegated by what you believe. Not for when you first show up. Okay. I have no doubt. Okay, Nylock, I'm going to ask you a real blunt question. Okay. And I realize your heart's broken and there ain't nothing I can do about that one. But I'm going to ask you one little thing about alcohol. Okay, about drinking in a case like this. Number one, I'm going to point out alcohol does not make it easier to cope. Alcohol across the board knocks out trained and learned inhibitors, meaning your ability to cope, you're literally crippling it. Okay, this is not going to make you feel better. May give you a neat little hangover depending on how you deal with things, or worse, sclerosis of the liver. But let me ask you this. You love your dog, which is a fantastic thing. I mean, realistically, in my eyes, a dog is, and any pet for that matter, given they've got four legs for the following, a dog is simply a four-legged fuzzy kid. Now, let me ask you this. Your pup that just passed away, okay, would they like you? Would they like to see you drinking yourself silly right now? Is this something that they would actually be happy about? That's just a question for you. It's not a question to answer to me or to anybody in here. But I do appreciate you being honest and open about it. This is just something, what we got. Okay. Now, do understand something very important here, Nylock. Okay. Stronger does not mean not hurting. I will get to that answer in just half a second there, iVoice. Okay. Um, where it comes to the drinking, okay, do understand being strong does not mean not hurting. It doesn't mean that you carry on with your life and go, oh, he died, I can just move on. Okay. So my strong recommendation. Okay, I understand the issue of drinking. I used to do it a lot. I had way more than my fair share. Okay. Matter of fact, this one I can actually show you at this point. Move that out of the way, primarily because, well, the door was closed. Where did it go? Oh, that's because I didn't put it in there. Put it in here. 30 years ago. Okay. I would grab one of these, and in a single night, it would go. Okay. Now, well, this one I got in 2000. the Christmas of 2017. Okay. And this one has had 4 or 5 people helping me with. Okay. So here I am 6 years later, and we've still got another 2 or 3 years to go. Okay. But I will tell you this, you would be far better off grabbing yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or even for that matter, a glass of lemon water. Okay. Sit out on your deck if you've got one, or sit out in a park and just look at the stars. Imagine like literally talk to your pup as though your pup is sitting there right beside you. Okay. Ask it to show you in a way that you can accept. Sorry, I shouldn't say it. Ask her in a way to show you in a way that you can understand and accept that she is there. That she hears you. The most common place that you'll feel the contact is across your forearms, just across the forearm or across the back of your neck. Okay. That's the most common place. But make sure when you ask her questions that are from your standpoint that can be answered as a yes or no. Because the stronger the feel, the more definitive the yes. It's just an idea. Now you can do this out in the park, or if you feel more relaxed about it, go down to any gravesite. It doesn't have to be where she is. Okay, any gravesite at all. Go down, find a place, sit down, and talk to her as though she is right there. Okay. If you've still got her leash or a picture of her, take it with you. It will help you actually focus a little bit more strongly on it. Okay. Give that a shot and see if that helps you feel better. But I'm telling you, the alcohol that you're drinking, I'm a lousy one for wasting things. I'm not saying pour all your alcohol out. That is not what I'm talking about. But take that glass, whatever you're drinking now, okay, and in my opinion, unless it's beer, because beer, if you put beer in the fridge, it's just going to go flat. And then it's just gross. I mean, it's not great in my eyes anyway, but it's just going to be gross at that point. But take your glass, if appropriate, put it in the fridge. Don't necessarily dump it out. That's up to you. But if you're drinking too much, I would strongly recommend dumping it. And then do the above. Just a thought. Now, well, I'm going to go back up here. iVoice asked, why does love have to end up hurting so much? Well, more to the point, why does it end up having to hurt? Okay. The problem with love is we are taught as people to think through what you're doing. Okay. Love is based on emotional imperative. You are more than welcome there, Nylock. The question you've got to ask right off the bat is, number one, do you understand what you feel love is, or how you would recognize love? Because where some people run into the problem is what you're seeing as love and what you're striving to portray as love. The person that you're in love with may not be seeing it the same way. Okay, and this is where communication becomes a critical issue. Now, if you guys are not on the same page, okay, maybe, and this is just a broad example, okay, maybe you see love as making sure that if your other half desires something or requires something, you can turn around and go, you can turn around and say, okay, this is what we're looking at. I'm going to take care of you. This is my way of showing you I care. And possibly, and I've seen this happen, your other half is looking at it going, love is letting me make my own mistakes and just not telling me I'm an idiot for doing so. Okay. If you guys are not on that same page, okay, you're going to run into troubles. And of course, you're going to try and do your thing. She's going to look at it going, no, that's not what I desire. And you're going to take that as an affront, or in all likelihood, you will. That is where the pain comes from. It's not because love itself hurts. It's because you've got a miscommunication, okay, between the two of you, understanding what that love really looks like. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, does it have to hurt? Whether it has to or not, I'm not sure. I know that the times I've been in love when it's come to an end has hurt. Sometimes more so than others. Sometimes it was like, okay, well, I was feeling something, and thank heavens that didn't work. You know, I remember one girlfriend I had. She turned around and literally told me, you know, my one girlfriend literally told me, she goes, "I don't like when you call me names." And I'm thinking, I don't call people names. Well, I've called a number of people idiots, but I understand there's always been a reason for that in my eyes. But I asked her, I says, "What do you mean calling you names?" She goes, "You're calling me love and sweetheart." I says, "You want to run that by me again?" She goes, "I don't like when you call me love or you call me sweetheart." I said, "Okay, I'm done with this garbage." I said, "I'm done with this childishness." And she turns around and looks at me and she goes, "Well, I didn't want to upset you. I didn't want to start a fight." I said, "Okay." That was the last thing I said to her. Was I upset after she was gone? Frankly, no. Okay, but then realistically, why would I be at that point? You know, but, the fact is, there is no way there is no way, I voice, that we can sit here and say, in X number of days, you'll feel better. That is not the way heartache works. Okay, if I go back to say 1823, 1828. Okay, my girlfriend was murdered in front of my eyes. She was carrying our child. Okay, for 5 years I suffered, and eventually I died of a broken heart. It does happen. Fortunately, it does not feel like you're on that track line. Okay, and I like what Christine said here. You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Your heart will heal. Okay. She goes, "I had a horrid breakup once. I didn't think I'd make it." Yeah, and they usually feel that way. You should have tried the way that I looked at it when I pulled the plug on my marriage. 16 years, and I closed the marriage down. And I literally did it overnight. It was not fun for a couple of years, but it was the right thing to do. In this case, ask yourself one little question that may help. Okay, where it comes to the communication line that took place, or that collapsed really, before the marriage, before the relationship ended. Okay, of that, what percentage of that communication gap do you feel you were responsible for? Because I may have some good news for you. It depends on what your answer is. You know, like, from your standpoint, do you feel that you're 100%, she's 100%, or there's somewhere in the middle? Okay. I ask that because your understanding where it's coming from may help you heal a little bit more readily. And to think this is literally what I'm doing right now is literally what I spent the last, well, from age 23. No, 23 is when I started. 95 would be from age 32 until just last December. Okay, I spent doing literally what I'm talking about right now. Okay, and like I said, I wasn't going to get away from it, but it is an issue you know of understanding where you're coming from for you to be able to heal, not for me to be able to heal by any means. But the nice part about it, what have we got? Yeah, I'm actually surprised that I've got this many people in the room. I was not planning on coming back. It's just when my other half turned around and goes, just push this button, hit this trigger, and we're good to go. And it was up and running right now. 5 minutes, just 5 minutes on the phone with her. Okay. Now I was on the phone with a computer tech who is doing this for a living. He was on the phone with me for an hour and couldn't get it sorted out. Now, I know technologically I run into problems. Oh, I absolutely agree with you. And the sad part is the world she's coming from, people don't recognize that. I mean, it's phenomenal because to make matters even better, okay, we're talking about a woman that is not professional. She is a very avid, and she's a very, shall we say, enthusiastic flautist. Okay, and sings in pitch perfect tune. I'm lucky if I can carry a bucket and a tune, a tune and a bucket and a tune and a bucket. Okay, so I mean, from my standpoint, is this somebody that I am going to, is this somebody I'm going to walk away from anytime soon? No. She's still got this brilliant idea that it's taking her too long to get here. And like I told her, I said, we'll give you this. You're on a time limit. You definitely have a length of time that I will wait for you. Okay. And she goes, I kind of figured that was going to happen. I says, yeah, here's your time limit. If I die or you die before you get here, I'm not marrying you. It's just that simple. Okay. From my standpoint, it really boils down to you drop dead, you're on your own. I'm not marrying you. Okay. Other than that, I'm not about to walk away. I don't see the point in looking for somebody. And she goes, well, if you did go and find somebody, I would understand it. I'm like, why would I consider it? Like, realistically, from my end, I've been on my own for a while, yes. And I was ready to pull the plug. Okay. Am I still intending on getting married? And for those of you that go, oh, marriage is just a money grab for the government. Maybe it is, but I don't really care. Let's see here. Henry's just written here. Public schooling messed a lot of people up. Yeah, intelligence is absolutely feared. Okay. The funny thing about it is this. Okay. When you take a look at the educational system, when I was growing up, we had the same problems you guys did. We just amplified the problem for you. My generation absolutely dropped the ball. Okay. They absolutely dropped the ball. But what you got to ask yourself now is not how bad has the school system screwed things up, but how are you as an individual going to counteract that damage? Ultimately, you are correct, Henry. I grew up very, very young. I developed a simple philosophy, and it has held true to this day. Okay, people, and correct me if I'm wrong, but answer me this: does this make sense? People have been taught for centuries, fear that which you do not understand. That which you fear, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. Now, this is the vicious cycle that we've been taught. And I cannot effectively blame my parents. They were taught the same thing. Okay. Now, when I grew up, my parents had a really cute thought. Okay. You know, my parents had a cute thought. My dad would look in, come in, and he'd go, knock off the tears or I'll give you something to cry about. I'm sure some of you have heard a comment like that. Right. And I'm talking when I was just a tiny munchkin. And it always hit me a little funny. I'm like, but Dad, I'm already crying. There's a reason. And I swore I would never do that to my kids. I would never use that line on them. So I modified it because kids will do things and they will. Just kids naturally do things that way. You know, and I would look at the munchkin and I go, knock off the tears or I'll give you something I feel is worth crying about. Okay. Now, before anybody jumps on that, I only had to spank either one of my kids twice, once each. Other than that, I never had to do it at all. Okay. But do I agree with beating kids? Well, I certainly feel it's better than letting them run roughshod and get into other problems that lead to quite literally them hurting other people. I had a client years ago that her 12-year-old would daily kick the living stuffing out of her. Right? Just beat her black and blue. And he wouldn't do anything while he was around. He'd deny the whole 9 yards when his dad got home. But he would then lay the boots to his mom. And she phoned me up in tears one day, didn't know how to deal with it. And I looked at her and I said, report him. Bring him up on charges for assault. Right. She goes, but I don't want to be that hard on him. I said, yeah, that's been working really well. How long has this been going on? She goes, when he turned 7, he started getting violent towards me. I said, okay, so report him. But I don't want to be that hard on him. You know, he's a good kid. I'm thinking, the guy, and I literally told her, I said, your son is kicking the stuffing out of you. Report him. And she goes, but I don't want to be that hard on him. I said, I'll make it easy for you. Don't do a thing. If you can tolerate the beatings, don't do a thing. In 2 years, you can decide what day of the week to visit him. And she goes, are you kidding? I said, do I sound like I'm kidding? I said, you've got a child that is going to kill somebody. You possibly being one of the somebodies. And that's just a simple evolutionary issue. Okay. I'm not known for being subtle. Okay. I actually have told clients, I had a client call me one day, and I was warned she was a problem. Okay. I said, well, don't be surprised if I hang up on her. Right. Because I've got all the tolerance. I like to think I've got all the tolerance in the world for somebody that is making the effort. Okay. And so she started, and I let her rant for a couple of minutes, for probably 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5. I said, okay, knock it off. I'm done. And she goes, what? I says, I'm not going to argue the fact that the first 40 years of your life were a shambles. I'm not going to debate that. They might have been the worst life anybody in existence has ever had. But I said, this is where it stops. Okay. I laid out a bunch of things about the way her life was going. Okay. And then I said, now, when you call me back, you utter one word about how miserable your life is and how it's everybody else's fault. I'm going to hang up on you. I'm not tolerating it. Well, I worked with the woman for a year and a half. Okay. And where she called me once or twice a week to talk through things. And we ended up getting her straightened out and getting her back on the straight and narrow. Now, I voice. I voices. Do I think Hitler should have been killed as a baby? Absolutely 100% no. Absolutely not. There's no room for variation on that for me. Okay. Hitler had problems, do not get me wrong. But we also have to realize that, and do not, again, I'm going to say something here that somebody's going to go, oh, you're putting him up on a pedestal and he was such a vile man. I don't put people on pedestals. I don't put me on a pedestal. I told somebody one day, literally, I says, you ever want to put me on a pedestal, I will knock myself off it in one heck of a hurry. Hitler himself had some problems, absolutely. He had and this is not an excuse. This is an explanation. Had Hitler actually been taught how to communicate and how to deal with people, he would not have gone the route that he did. What he did was he looked at what he had been shown and went, the only way I know how to solve it is by doing this. Now, you got to remember, As far as I understand it, the first 4 years of his reign, he was an absolutely unstoppable genius, massively charismatic. And then he got syphilis, brain swelling, goes nuts. Now he's a problem. Now, should he have been taken out a little bit more effectively a little earlier, once he went off the deep end, you bet it would have saved a lot of problems. But you cannot effectively deny his intellect. Should he have been killed as a baby? No. Can you picture what would have happened if he had been guided properly instead of into the idea of of shooting people and killing people? Can you picture what would have happened if he had been guided properly into the realm of scientific exploration, of medical enhancement? Can you think what he would have done? Okay, now that's a resource. Hitler's childhood was a resource that was absolutely wasted. Okay, he was sent down a road that was absolutely a disaster. Okay, but his reasoning for it, if he hadn't made two mistakes that I can think of offhand, and both were made after he got ill. Okay, and before anybody asks, no, I do not feel the man changed his name and went into hiding. He's living somewhere else. Okay, I don't feel that at all. But had he had proper guidance, most people, if they get proper guidance, proper encouragement, they will land on their feet in a much more positive fashion. So I look at this and go, is there a way that this can actually work to people's benefit? Can we take some of these people that are admittedly going down on, shall we say, challenging paths? Can we turn around and point them in the right direction? The answer is definitively yes. We absolutely can. But I'm going to ask for your help to do it. And this is what I'm looking at here. Now, this chat room has been phenomenal in the support that I've gotten and that I've received from you guys. Okay. It really has been a remarkable setup. But we have to understand that if we look at people in the old way, okay, if we look at people and go, it's everybody else's fault that we have a problem. Okay. Well, I have no doubt, like I said, my generation dropped the ball big time when we were the ones that essentially completed the push to take discipline out of the school. Okay. With no discipline. And when I'm talking about discipline, I'm referring to focus. If you cannot get a child to focus on something, okay, and experience other things than what they strictly desire to experience, they will grow up with a very shallow outlook on life and will find themselves bored in many cases. Okay. Now, it came to me just yesterday. I'm laying there in bed. I'm finally ready to go to sleep and what have you. And all of a sudden I'm looking at it going, I've got a computer that's chock full of junk. I'm in my game in Skyrim. I've got so much junk in it that and so many tasks that I've got on my list of things to do that I just wasn't making any headway. My computer is chock full of junk files or duplicate files. My house is full of junk that I have collected over the years. Okay. I really have to ask Ken. You've mentioned circus may be and I'm guessing this is a typo, may be nutrition deficiency. Or are you saying syphilis? Okay, but it may be. I'm not sure. I am not a medical doctor. I do know that my emotions went way off balance until because I was looking for what was causing the problem. I was having leg swellings, emotional stability. Oh, ADHD is an interesting thing. I'll get to that in half a second. Okay. I was finding that all sorts of focal problems were being caused. And then I stumbled across this idea that my electrolytic balance was out. Good health is not, in my opinion, received through a pill. Okay, it is received through proper diet. And by the way, that doesn't mean go out and buy organic and avoid meat and what have you. I'll tell you, if you can digest it, it's organic. Okay. Um, you know, ADHD. Here in the ADHD is one of those diagnoses that, in my opinion, has been overstated. It has been overdiagnosed because it's natural behavior. So many people that are teenagers get diagnosed with ADHD because they don't focus, they don't stay interested in one thing for long. And they seldom complete what they're doing. I'm talking on the whole. Okay, with this in mind, you go back to when I was a teenager, we did the same thing. They called it puberty. Okay, they called it growing up. Okay, they didn't go, oh, you've got ADHD, have a pill. Okay, the pill is not going, it will hide the symptoms, but it doesn't train the kid how to deal with things. Okay, I was actually tested for ADHD. Yeah, whichever way you get it from, I know there's another way. I take something and it's literally called an electrolytic balancer put out by the Life brand pharmaceuticals. Okay, I'm not against medication. I'm against medication that can be bypassed. Okay, I'm against medication that has been determined to be dangerous. Okay, but I got tested for ADHD. Something about the fact I was doing way too many things at once. I don't know where they got that idea. I'm only writing 35, 40 books, playing Skyrim, gaming twice a week. Okay. And I'm pretty much on the go. I don't know why people seem to think that I've got ADHD, but I went and had it tested. Okay. And it turned out the guy asked me one critical question. He goes, do you ever get anything finished that you start? Right? He says, anything at all. I says, yeah, all the time. I says, it takes a while. I says, but I always get things finished. Right? And this guy, and he is literally, he's got an experimental clinic. He's got access to all the newest treatments around the world. Okay. And he looks at me and goes, if you're getting anything done, you don't have ADHD. If you're not being pushed by somebody else until you get it finished, you don't have ADHD. He says, certainly you'll get things done a lot faster if you quit doing all of them at once. But at that, on the same side of that, if you're having trouble and medication is helping you stay stable, okay, for pity's sakes, stay on it until the doctor says, no, it's no longer required. Because if you're doing the work to straighten yourself out and you're on medication, okay, the medication will your body will stop absorbing the medication and it will show up as an overdose in your system. And the doc will look at it. If your doctor has any sense of integrity, we'll take a look at the blood results and go, no, you're a little heavy on this. We're going to cut it back. Because you got to remember, they do this because you actually permit it. Okay, I got told I needed to be on heart medication. I looked at them and went, yep, until I get my heart balanced. Oh no, you'll be on it for life. Well, I guess I died about 2 months later. Guys, I only lasted on the medication for about 2 months and then I was done with it. You know, now I'm looking at it, and I'll tell you, I went through my bedroom here, through my office, and cleared the stuff off the floor. Now the energy in here runs like an absolute charm. Okay. Oh, and you'll notice I finally got around to it. One of the things I did, if you look up here, there is right about, let's see, there. She used to be missing. I had pulled her down. Okay. And hadn't gotten around to putting her back up. She's back up where she belongs. Now I don't have a hole in there that looks like a man, like she's in, like my wall is missing a tooth. You know, take a look at your life. Ask yourself, are you content? Okay. Are you happy with the way things are going from your end? You know, where am I here? I'm just going to go up and make sure I didn't miss something here. You know, the neat part about it is I take a look at the way things are going. Okay, we have a choice. We can continue focusing on all the bad things in the world, all the things that are going sour, or we can focus on the things that are turning around right. Now, take a look at this. My computer, I bought a brand new computer, brought in the tech to put it all together. Okay, we picked up a piece of equipment at his recommendation. I asked about it. He looked at it and went, "This one is the right one to get." Now, it didn't work. Okay, as a matter of fact, it created problems. That said, I have the option, and there was a time I would have looked at that and gone, "You're totally useless to me. I'm not talking to you again." In this case, that is not the case. I got him to help me pick out a computer, make sure I had one that could do the job. Okay. Does this mean I owe him anything more than what I pay him, than what I've already paid him? No. I do owe him the courtesy of, if somebody's looking for a tech, to say, "Look, I got him to do something. He came in, he did everything he could. He got it sorted around." Okay. Thank you so much, Ken. I do appreciate that. Yo, he got it sorted around what I asked him, what I really required him for. He got sorted around. Now, do I have other contacts? Clearly, my other half is a phenomenal resource for me. Okay, you think about it. Number one, if I can get her to sing, she's got a voice that is just incredible. Now, hopefully she's got a flute that isn't quite as high pitched, because I'll tell you, flutes, the high pitch on them is a pain in the neck for me. Well, pain in the ear. Okay. She has this neat tendency where it comes to editing, she is mind-bogglingly good at it. Okay. And now it turns out she's a technological genius. Like, I'm going to throw her away or something. I can't see the reason and the rationality behind it. You know, so, and like I told her, this is one that I will. I got divorced. I'm not upset about marriage. And realistically, all of the relationships that I had, there weren't that many. Well, if you include dates, there were one, two, three, four, five, really, maybe six. Okay. All of them, I was 50% of the problem. Okay. I have never in my life, with over 110,000 clients, I have never once seen a situation where communication was not a 50-50 problem. So if you're in a relationship, and bear in mind, if you have a mechanic that you see for your car, if you've got a veterinarian that you take your dog to, or your cat, okay, you got friends that you spend time around. Every one of these people you have a relationship with. The fact you're not necessarily crawling into bed with all of them, and hopefully not all at the same time anyway, but if you have a connection with people, okay, I will answer that question in about 5 seconds here, voices. Um, if you have a connection with somebody, you're in a relationship with them. And invariably, I've never seen a variation. it is a 50-50 problem. Now, iVoices is, what do we got here? Yeah, quite often I find that one. Ken's just going, sometimes things don't go as planned. They really don't. But I do have a working computer with all 3 monitors up and running. Okay, I'm on YouTube. I've got all my books worked out. I've got everything sorted out from that end. Okay, now, where it comes to this question, iVoices asked, Keith, do you think people who are psychopaths or sociopaths can ever be good people? In all fairness, I am a firm believer that even psychopaths and sociopaths are usually good people anyway. You got to remember, their brain works a little differently. They certainly do things that are not socially acceptable. Okay, this is not condoning their behavior. Okay, but if I can if I can look at somebody and go, okay. Now, I was told I should have gone into psychology. I was also told I wasn't permitted. But a sociopath or a psychopath, what they are missing is they've got no way to connect this cause and effect. They have all they've got is that immediate gratification, that issue of trying to feel something. Now, does this make them bad because they can't feel something? In my opinion, no. Would I be hanging around with a psychopath or a sociopath? Absolutely not. Okay, I do not have the wherewithal to deal with them. But do I feel they are inherently bad people? No. If you can take a psychopath and point them in the right direction, okay, you've got yourself one heck of an unstoppable tool. Okay, they can have a place in society, in if you will, civilized society, and I'll use that term really loosely. Okay, but if you can point them in the right direction. For instance, when I was running with well, if I want to look at sociopath, my last lifetime, born in 1896. No, 1898, because I was 16 in 2014. So yeah, 1898. I was born in 1898. I was a sociopath. Okay, I would kill anybody. Didn't matter. All you had to do was look at me wrong, and I'd do you in. And I was only a child. By the time I was 16, I already had a list of murders under my belt. Okay, and then they made the mistake of putting me in jail. Okay, I call it a mistake because I told them, don't put me in there. You don't want me in there. Well, they put me in jail with 7 other people. Okay, they put me in jail with 7 other people. I told them, I said, don't put me in here. You don't want me in here. The cops, I can't imagine why they didn't listen. Okay, I just done in somebody else. So they put me in jail. Well, the next morning they came in, there were 7 dead and me sitting on the bench. They're all laid out all over the floor. And the poor cops, they looked at me and went, what the heck happened? I says, they were a-holes. Right. You killed them because they were a-holes? I said, no, I didn't kill any of them. Right. And bear in mind, I was a big boy. I was physically rather strapping. I said, no, I didn't kill him. Okay. And the guy, the cop looks at me and goes, you tore his arm off. I said, well, of course I tore his arm off. He wouldn't let go of the bar. But I said, I didn't kill him. I'm innocent on the fact of killing him. And the cop looks at me and goes, the man bled to death. I said, well, that wasn't my fault. You tore his arm off. Yeah, but I didn't kill him. Okay. So from that standpoint, football, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So are sociopaths and psychopaths, are they potentially good people? The answer is yes. Would I trust them around your kids or around yourself? not a snowball's prayer. People like that, in order to give them some sort of guidance, they absolutely have to be taken out of mainstream society. But this does not mean tortured and or lobotomized. Okay, this simply means not let run free where they can do whatever they will. Okay, what do we got here? Yeah, well, technically, um, I mean, I'm a serial killer today. Almost every morning I have a bowl of cereal, and the poor thing doesn't have a prayer. But no, the thing is, I don't remember when I was born in 1820 in 1898. I don't know. I don't remember what my first murder was, but I do know, and I'm not proud of this. This is just what it was. I was starting to see a young lady, and somebody wanted me dead. Can't imagine why after the number of people I'd already done in. But they come around the corner and open fire. Well, instead of ducking for cover and doing what I would do in today's world, okay, which would be grab the girlfriend, pull him out of the way. What I did at that point was I grabbed the girlfriend and turned her back to them. But the fact of the matter was, I didn't get shot. Okay, rather cold, rather a deplorable behavior by today's world. You know, so I mean, do I have I got bad in my past lives? Certainly. I was a phenomenally effective thief. I used to work for the Spanish Inquisition, and I was good at that. Okay, that's a really bad thing to be proud of in some ways, but think of it this way. If you're going to do something, be proud of what you're doing. Be of a mindset of, if you did this, can you stand up? You know, can you stand up and tell most people what you did? If you can stand up and proudly say, this is what I did, okay, then you're on the right path. Okay. If you feel you have to hide what you did, rethink whether you're doing it. Okay. Yeah, Nathan, it would be nice if, you just think and have the paperwork come to you. I know I tried that during the Black Death. We got fed up with the number of bodies we had to go into the room, go into the house and pull a body out of. I finally got fed up with it. I said, to heck with it. Tell those dead people to come out here. I'm done dragging them out. If they want to go into a burial chamber, just tell them to get their tail feathers off the couch and get out here. Amazingly, none of them came out. None of the dead came out. But I'm looking at the world the way our world is running. Okay. And I'm looking at it going, what can we possibly do to actually get people excited about being themselves, about having a better life than what we've got? Oh, I didn't actually show this to you. Okay, I said I had brought another toy over. Okay, this funny little munchkin. I do not know where it came from. Okay, but I do know what kind of power level it has. And I play with this thing periodically, but I took this, I call it the witch's lock. Okay, I had this, and I didn't know that the girl was a black witch at the time. We got along fine, but then she wasn't doing anything to me or anybody I knew of. Okay, but I took this little toy. You'll notice the design on the bottom. I took this little thing, and all I did was set it in the palm of her hand. Okay, and all of a sudden, all you heard was this, and she drops it. and she had a great big star burned right in the palm of her hand. Okay, this little thing. Now, I have no idea what it's made of. I look at it and go, I think it's probably brass, but I don't rightly know. I do know it left one heck of a burn. You know, so I mean, we have to take a look at this world and ask yourself, are you content with where your world is? Okay, if you take a look back here, I now have, like, I've got all those drawers over there. That's pencils and pens, that sort of thing. Debating whether or not to use, well, one of them I've got to use for batteries. Okay, but the reality of it is this. Take a look at where your world is. Are you content listening to, listening to people tell you the world's going to end? Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, here, I'll put this back up and you can take a look at it again. Yeah, she was definitely of the wrong picture, of the wrong vibration. The funny part about it with this little thing is this same girl, I was driving down the street. I'd only just started working with her. I will answer that in just half sector, I voices. I was driving down the highway and I spotted her on the side of the road. And I had only just met her because she had only just started working for the same company. I'm driving down the highway. I pulled a U-turn in the middle of a 4-lane highway and went over into the gas station and talked to her. And all I did was I pulled up beside her. I rolled down the window. I called her by name and I says, don't do anything utterly stupid tonight. Right. The next day, she comes to work and she goes, gee, Keith, I'm really glad you stopped and told me that. I says, why? What happened? And she goes, I took you at your word. I was planning on going to a house wrecking party last night. They didn't know, the owners didn't know it was a house wrecking party. I turned around and went home. She says, however it came across, she goes, I took it as a clear warning, and I went home. She goes, the dozen people that went to that house wrecking party are currently all sitting in jail. Right. She goes, it was caught, they were all caught, all apprehended. And thanks to you, I'm sitting here, at work without a criminal record. Right. This is just the way I look at it. It was just, she was off kilter. Now, this little thing here, okay, take a look at the pattern on it, and you'll notice one thing very simple. Okay, you're looking at the heart of it, you're looking at the 6 lines, aka there are machines that use this kind of configuration to accelerate the energetic heat and the energetic focal point. Okay, and again, we also have the 6-pointed star. Okay, again, 6 is the sign of community. Okay, so it pulls on, if you focus on it right, okay, it pulls on the positive energy around you. Well, she was a pretty messed up young lass. She was in really good shape by the time we finished working with her, but she was pretty messed up. But where it came from, I don't know. I can tell you it's got the configuration of the atom and it's got the 6-pointed star. Okay. And I'm not about to see if you guys can feel the energy off the bottom of it. I can, and that works well enough for me. Now, iVoices. iVoices asked, does holy water and crucifixes hurt demons or vampires? There's only one case where that's going to happen. In all fairness, Nathan, I don't know if that's quartz. Okay. I can tell you it's bluish, but I do not know what type of stone it is. I do know it speaks really well to the big crystal I've got. eye voices, holy water, and crucifixes. Do they hurt demons or vampires? That depends on two things. Number one, holy water. Quite frankly, in most demons' cases, it will simply make them wet. And assuming they don't like water, they're going to be a little ticked. Okay. The crucifix. Depends on how big it is when you go to hit them. Okay. But the reality is, where it comes to vampires specifically, crucifixes will work like a charm if, before they became a vampire or afterwards, they came to believe in God and came to fear the devil. Then a crucifix will hold them back if they believe in it. But most of them, frankly, it's got to be some pretty big cross for it to hurt them. And I've known demons that have used them for other purposes. But can it hurt them in and of itself? No, not from anything I've seen. You know, and that's just the way my life has always gone. This is why I don't worry about them. How you doing, me? Glad you could join us. In my case, it was 26 degrees today, which is, well, 26 is 52 is in the low 80s. So for me, that was quite nice. Looking for my phone, it's right beside me. Yeah, we're at 22 right now, which is still over 70. You know, but I'm quite comfortable in the higher temperatures. You know, you think about it, 30 degrees works out to in the low 90s. And I'm quite comfortable at 30. I used to be comfortable at about 110. Now, not so much. But, you know, I look at the way this world is going and I go, okay, I've got to do something and obviously I cannot do it all on my own. Okay. That's not entirely surprising. Oh, we have to talk about that, don't we? I will tell you this. I will tell you this, Nathan. When we were talking about the computer, the crystal computer, okay, what you're looking for, you're going to have in order to make one. Okay, where are we? Yeah, that's pretty much the way it's got to go. Okay, you eventually get to the point of going, that's just the way it is. You're going to require. There's the other one. There it is. Okay. Now, that is smoky quartz. Okay. It is, this one is obviously at 6-sided. That's the way crystals grow. Okay. Now, this is only a rudimentary storage base. Okay. And I'll explain why in a second. This one is clear quartz. Nope, my apologies. It's kind of a mix between clear and smoky. Okay. But what you're looking for, you take a look at that size. Okay. You're going to need, and I can't show you the amount of room that you're going to require, but take a look at the base on that. It's about a half an inch, about a quarter, might be an inch in diameter. Okay. You're going to require either a you can either make it out of fired pottery or just fresh clay and let it sunbake, which would be better. Okay. But you're going to need a mound of it that is big enough that you can mount 12 of these in a pattern. And we will get to the pattern, but you're going to need 12. You'll find it best if you have 12 double terminants. A double terminant, this is a terminant, 1 point. Double terminant means it will have that point, okay, on both ends. Okay, and what you're looking for is a double terminant, so you insert the one end into the clay and it will hold it. Okay, but you're going to require 12. I'm still working on the specific type of gems you're looking for. Okay, now I will tell you, they do not have to be naturally grown. Okay, they have to be of a specific size, yes. But that said, we are talking equal size. You'd be looking at things and crystals that are about that long, really, with a double terminant. Okay. And I'm in the process of putting that little piece of information together. Will I eventually build one of my own? The answer is yes. But I'll tell you, unlike the big ones, because the real ones don't use a 6-sided crystal. They use a 7-sided crystal. And crystals on this planet don't grow with 7 sides. Okay, they grow with 6. Mind you, the crystals on Vulcan don't grow with 7 either. But, whoop, I did that again. Oh, still working on it. I've picked up a few new figures, but they're going to have to wait because I'd have to go and figure out which ones they are. But I've been picking up new figures to actually fit with the characters I'm in the middle of building. Okay, so am I still working on the diorama? The answer is yes. It's just another form of creativity. See, I'm looking back at it now. Yeah, I'm looking back at it now going, 50,000 years ago, we got bored. Okay. We had everything at the tip of our hand, just like people today, except in our case, we could literally manifest it without thinking about it. You go, oh, I want this, and there it was. There it was. And I don't know how that song goes. But we would just think about it, and there it would be. What do we got? Nathan's got, I can make something work. I want an energetic device of some sort, even if it's with tiny broken ones that I can't get very easily. May make the big crystal later. Yeah, absolutely. If you've got little crystals, if you've got just the tiny ones, what I'm working out right now, I'm working on the research for it. Okay, I know I've got the information for it. Do I have it here? No, it's in the other room. I know I've got the information here for it. I just have to go through it painstakingly and find the crystals I'm looking for. Once I've I've already laid out the schematic on the ground. Okay. By the way, the neat part about it is this particular little tool that I'm talking about. One of the reasons I'm looking for the information is because of what it is used for. Okay. Remember I mentioned that there are new technologies that I'm adding to Races of the Worlds. This is one of those technologies. It is not a computer that you can link up to with a modern day computer any more than an abacus can be used to connect with an IBM. Okay. But these are tools that we can use. I'm just looking at this world going, there's got to be a way that we can change things. And that simply boils down to making the decision it's going to be changed. Which reminds me, I do have to get a hold of my brother, which is something totally off kilter, but that's okay. So take a look at where your life is, and, do understand Hollywood has done a phenomenal job with a lot of shows. I will tell you one other little detail about vampires. Okay, that little itty bitty detail is that they have a neat little problem. It's not that they are allergic to garlic. It's not that it will kill them, but when you have taste buds that are that highly developed, too much garlic is going to be painful. It's just going to be. It's like way too much hot sauce. It's not going to work well for you. You know, that's just the reality behind it. Hate that. So, from your end, it's very necessary to realize that every single entity out there has a place. There is a way for them to work in a connection with this world. Okay, there's absolutely no major problem there. There are a lot of issues around people fearing the unknown, which explain, from my standpoint, I've grown up with people afraid of me for most of my life. And, I never understood it before until it dawned on me that it's because I don't fit the bill. Ah, that's the neat part. Vampires, on the whole, look, they can walk by you and you wait at night, and you'd never know it. Okay, they look, on the whole, pretty normal. But I will tell you, if they, when they get upset, when they get into a feeding frenzy, they take on some pretty horrific visage. It is not a physical alteration. Aside from the fact that most of them they do have the larger teeth. Okay, most of them. Some of them have retractable. Okay, that will pull right back inside, much like a snake will. Okay, I gotta ask Nathan, what do you consider short? You know, I mean, it really is a comparative issue. From my standpoint, I'm just, what am I, 5'8", as it turns out. Okay, I think that was what I was last time I measured, which was neat because a year earlier I was only 5'7", and a few years before that I was 5'10". So I have no functional idea how things are going to stay as far as I go. You know, so I mean, I'm taking a look at this world and going, my world, am I content with it? The answer, no. Okay, it's just that simple. Okay, so I'm just walking through things and eliminating the ones I know and modifying the energy flow. Yeah, but there's a neat thing there, Nathan. And something so, I mean, in your case, much like mine, if you're around people that height, if you're around people that are 6 foot plus, you cannot effectively look down on them and, blame them for looking down on you. You're vertically challenged. However, I will tell you this. The reality is, you know how you feel with those people around you. Picture my other half. Okay, and she's not the shortest one, but picture my other half. Okay, she's only 5'1". So she will end up looking at me from the same angle that you look at the people around you. Okay. I used to work with a young lass that was 4'10". Sorry, she was 4'10" and a half. And at the time, the doctors had said, if you're 4'10", you're a midget. Well, she was about as close to it as you were going to get. You know, but it's not how big you are, it's not how tall you are, how strong you are. It's how you utilize your skills, how you portray yourself to others around you. You know, this is the thing we have to look at, or at least would be wise to look at. Now, I'm really amazed at this, Yep, that would be it. Okay. Well, I could technically try and force it. I'm thinking this is a bad idea. Okay, but with that in mind, I'm going to call it night a little early. I was figuring if I was on here for half an hour, I was doing really well. Okay. But as it turns out, well, we're sitting at an hour and 40 minutes, so that's not bad. But you can hear my throat starting to seize, so I'm thinking this is time to go and do something about food. With this in mind, guys, I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, at least I should be back again tomorrow. Wait a minute, tomorrow is Monday. It's going to be touch and go tomorrow because I'm theoretically going out to get another piece of equipment to finish organizing things here. But that said, what I might end up doing is coming on a little later. It's up in the air. Okay, we'll see what happens from that end. That being said, I do want to thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. I really appreciate it. And I will see you again in the very near future. Until then, take care of yourselves and for pity's sakes, stay positive.